Welcome to the ConfigureITDone Podcast. The ConfigureITDone Podcast is a place where successful thought leaders in the SAP space come to share their leadership styles, their tips, and their unique stories on how to run successful large-scale SAP programs. Listen to the podcast to learn from their successes, their failures, their career stories, and their inspirations.
This podcast is in partnership with the Black Dog Institute, who aim to create a mentally healthier world for everyone. If you wish to support the cause, please donate via the link below.
So welcome to season 3. This is episode 6. We've got a fantastic guest on today who I've just learned you've got your own podcast, haven't you, Amanda?
Yeah, I drag a crew of friends with us who got together and we do a podcast for program management, actually, purist, and have a lot of fun doing it and always have a wine in hand. Unfortunately today, however, my wine glass is empty, but it's way too early, really.
It is way too early.
It is on quick receive and I can go and pick it up, but it's right there. I'll pop it back there longingly.
When is it an acceptable time to drink? I always say like midday. Like it's always a bit weird in the morning, but
sun's over the yard arm. The sun's over the yard arm. We're there. Just depends which way your boat's going to face.
All right. So I've also got my colleague Richard on with me today. Richard, you came on episode 1 of season 3 with Cameron Berkman, which was a brilliant podcast. So thank you for coming on, and it's good to have you on again. So let's get into it. And Rich, I'm going to hand you over to yourself. We're going to do a quick fire question round. Amanda said this was like dating, before. But Rich, if you dive into it and let's learn a little bit about Amanda.
Perfect. Thanks, Amanda. So we'll start with this quick fire round. Keep it sort of 2 minutes. We'll go through, learn a little bit about yourself. So
I need a red button, like those. Bing.
Like, quick tap.
I should have, if I'd known, I would have bought one. Go.
We'll start with the simple one. What's your full name?
Oh, Amanda Michelle Oakenful. Boring. And there's actually a story behind that. So my first question, you got a story. So Amo is, I think, to love in Latin, and Amanda is the loved. So I can never change my surname. So I'm married, but I can't change my surname because otherwise I screw up the entire family's effort to get my name and my initials to mean something. They stuffed it like, oh, well, I'm stuck with it. Can't say it's the best. It's had some concerning, you always sit there and say your surname and everyone's like, you what? So once you see it written down, it's all good.
I get it. I say Richard and people put down John or James, whatever it is.
Hey, have you ever gone to the coffee shop and actually just changed your name randomly? Shits and giggles.
I should try it because every time I say Richard, no one understands me. So I'll try it next time. I'll change my name.
Just you got to remember it. Otherwise, they're busy calling for Bob and you're like, oh, shit, that's me.
Perfect. And any nicknames?
Yeah, heaps. I always got called, when I was younger, I got Okanui, obviously, because I was in our training corps and they wrote my name, like back in the day of the typewriter. The hand wrote my name down and someone misread it because it was in cursive. So Okanui kind of stuck. So anyone who knows me from way back in the day, but then in in the Navy, I got called Peaches. But that's not as much of a, I'll leave it at that. You can use your imagination.
We'll move on.
Yeah. When you had all of that, when you used to be able to do bastardization and shit like that and call people crappy names, I copped some perlers.
I've had plenty in school.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Australia?
Oh gosh, came out in 83. How long's that? Oh, we're coming up to 40 years. Okay. Wow. I've been here longer than I thought. I hadn't sat back and had to think of it. Yeah, no, high school here. Junior school in New Zealand. Yep, so I got not only did I get picked on for bad names and odd looking figures, I'm also a Kiwi, so high school wasn't great.
What about
building?
Let's start with, if we go into a work sense, what's the best job that you've ever had?
Oh, this is really easy. The job I have at any point in time in my career. I'd have, you can't have one, right? I started out in the military. It was awesome. It was brilliant. I've got stories. We were stuck on a beach. I was doing survey, stuck on a beach and literally watching the tide come in because we're measuring the tide. And watching the tide go out, you're there for a while. And as it went out, it just opened up this oyster bed. And so we've always got knives on our legs. So you're sitting there shucking oysters. And we radioed Sheffo on the ship, and he came in threw lemons at us. So yeah, shucking oysters. I mean, best ever. But I wouldn't do it now because the place stinks. What they don't tell you is it looks really pretty. An old pack of dead turtles not far behind us. So yeah, it was a really awesome job then. And then that's your 20s and 30s. By that time, Navy was good enough to teach me project management from the ground up, and I go into consulting world, and I wouldn't change my life for then either. And then that's how you sort of plow through your middle management, and you land out the other side working out that it's all a bit odd, and go into executive roles, wondering how you survived the permafrost of middle management. And I wouldn't change my job now. It's like, so whichever job you're in at the time, I think it's the best one you've got for the experience you've got in the space you are in.
Do you still use many of your project management skills then you learnt from the Navy now at
they
current job?
So when I was in the Navy, I'll be written up as hydrography and doing all the charts. But what happened was it was the Lewin class ship build, and I was asked to join. So, do you want some shore time? Which is, everyone says yes. And I went into a program office, and so they literally taught me how to schedule, master schedule, baby projects, your Prince 2, your PIMBOK. I got everything. Very structured, it's defense, right? Very structured learning, and the experience, I hated it then, but when I look back now, I rely on it every day. So it really helped set me up for what became the thread through my career. So I've done lots of different things, but the continual thread through it is always that I've done program delivery, large programs, which is why I'm now the recovery specialist.
Yeah.
Which hence I'm a big loud mouth on a podcast.
Have you had to adapt much from what you were taught since you come into your new style now? Still the same?
What I've found is I think it would have been about 2010s, maybe early 2000s. The universities found project management as a really good opportunity to make some money. And now everyone goes off and gets a degree and they get qualified, and you've got a whole heap of businesses out there that want to make money off you being part or a membership group or something like that. But along the way, along this journey, what they've forgotten to do is teach people the tools of the trade. So they don't teach people. It's like, I can liken it to, would you get a builder in who couldn't swing a hammer? You've got basically now they're using frameworks and methods, which is just no more than the architectural design drawing. And then they go out and get people who have studied those methods and frameworks and have thought great big thunks, but they don't know the tooling. I mean, and that's vital. I mean, could you imagine running SAP project and not being able to configure it, just reading the instruction booklet? The application of both has to be there, and that's lacking in a delivery industry broad. So you get old farts like me charging, master schedulers. Oh my God, you can break a bank on trying to get a solid master scheduler. It's a skill set that is not in the market, and they're all in their 40s, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
So
I can hear your passion for project management. It's good to hear. How would you describe your project management style in one word?
One word. Collaborative. It's the same as, it's just a leadership style. It's just collaborative. It's a lot more of you're bringing in the team together. Yeah. Really. It's a boring answer, but that's kind of. Yeah. I wanted to say collaborative and fun, but I'm only allowed one word, and I don't think I can have collabora fun.
Yeah, we can make a new word. We can try. We'll wrap it up with what's a fun fact about yourself?
we got circled by pirates and survived.
There you go.
Only time in my life.
One I haven't heard before.
That's the one time I absolutely legitimately shit scared. Yeah. So that's probably why it sticks in my mind. And yeah, there's not very many people wondering about who they did. I mean, we were a Navy vessel. They didn't board us. So I'm very proud to have had a CEO who did the right thing. And they just sort of circled. The ship wandered off. But man, that was terrifying. It was terrifying just having them circle.
Tell us a bit more about that. Like, I feel there's a whole story in that itself.
I think we were out in there. I think it was the RFURC from memory. God, you're going back so many years. I mean, I did a consultant for those years, well over 20. So, yeah, we were out there from memory, and don't quote me on this. I'll probably have ASIO run down my neck, but I thought it was the RFURC out that way. And there was a ship coming alongside, and Nav at the time had identified it, and this cold chill went through the ship, and funnily enough, all the females were the seamanship side. So we were the ones, painting the ship and all the males were all the techies. So they were down in the bows of the ship running. It just happened to be that way. We had an all female seaman crew, just freaked. So you would normally see a ship, if you from external, you will see our ship with all female uppers, meaning they would have thought it was this boat full of women. So the boss got on the radio. He's just told us, all right, all girls downstairs. We locked ourselves in the medical room, and all the boys straight back up, put all the Navy flags up, really hid any. We had no arms on us anyway at that time. The survey vessels didn't have any guns, so there was nothing that they would have seen that they wanted. And it's not worth upsetting the Australian government for nothing. So they would have just circled us, having a look, having a bit of a check out. But I can remember just sitting there, and all the girls were just sitting down in below decks and just quiet as mouse until it was clear. But yeah, fun little thing. And you know, it puts a lot of context about how we deliver projects. When you're in the middle, like the last SAP implementation, everyone's pulling their hair out. It's like, oh my God, there's a drive-in date. You've got to get there. I'm like, you're not going to die. If we are 24 hours late on a delivery, when you transition into hypercare, no one's going to die if it's Monday or Tuesday. Like, it's not. Let's have some context around. So yeah. I think being able to go through that in my 20s, when you're looking down barrels of guns, you're being shot at, you've got pirates around you, really ended up putting some context into a corporate environment. Like, is it really important? I mean, certainly don't want to delay by weeks and months, but don't break people. Yeah.
And how do you communicate that, Amanda? You mentioned there, in a corporate world, you're not going to die. 24 hours being delayed. Like, that's all well and good. You've had those experiences, right? You've looked down barrels of guns. You've had pirates circle the ship, and like, amazing stories. And I'd love to, go into more of that later. But like, how do you get that message across to a project team that are terrified? They're working all nighters. They're pulling their hair out. They haven't got that same perspective as yourself. Like, how do you communicate that?
Well, you don't stop communicating. They'll always know that on my programs. Like, I've got the one thing we have is mateship, and I got your back. You're not in my team unless I can trust you and you can trust me. So I did have a disappointing moment when I came in and did a recovery. And in fact, anyone who knows me will know this. It was the last SAP program implementation we did. And the testing manager and I went out on a limb to cover the butts of our team. We were in fast recovery, and there was a bit of dig in, guys. We got some long hours, but we're going to have long hours for 10 days, and then we're going straight back to 8 hours. So we're going to have to really dig in. Now, we put ourselves out there, and they didn't back us. They hung us out to dry. The conversation I had with the team after that was pretty passionate. I've got your back. You got to have my back. So that conversation will go right through the delivery. Now, I'm not I mean, I can configure other systems. I'm really cool at Workday, apparently. But I'm not someone who's, don't let me too crazy. I can play with SAP from a configuration perspective, but none of the guys will let me go too silly on it. I have to be highly supervised. But I need them to be really awesome at their job, and they've got to know I'll be really awesome at mine. And then once you've got that teamwork, then you've got the trust. Once you've got the trust, they know that we're not, I'll be in there explaining why things may have to be 24 hours later. We're not getting shot at. You're into any customer system dependent on disaster recovery plans, dependent on, you wouldn't want to be in a place where, you turn the lights off on a state electricity grid. But that'd be costly. It's not going to be at a situation like that. That's a constraint. You won't move. But outside of constraints that have a high impact, there is some fudge factor to move things around, and why not use it? Don't burn people.
Yeah, it's really interesting to hear that you mentioned one of the keywords you mentioned there is trust, that you have to put the trust in the team and they've got to trust you back. Are there any other traits that you look for in your teams?
It's the primary one would be, is your heart in it? What's your attitude? I would take someone with a really enthusiastic attitude over someone with the competency skill. You can teach competency. I can teach and train someone the skill there, especially on a lot of our SAP implementations, because they tend to be longer. So you have got a bit of bandwidth to upskill. I would absolutely take attitude above anything else. And if they're teaming and they've got the right attitude, you've got their trust, and hey, you can have fun. We have shitloads of fun. There's no use turning you with these people 8, 10, 12 more hours, God, a day, dependent on where you are in the program cycle. You've got to enjoy each other. You've got to get along. So, you're like a big family at the end of it. It's really hard when you get to the end and you've delivered, and you've got to let people take off to the four corners of Australia or wherever. Sometimes it's global. It's like, we've been through a bit. We've had babies together. Sometimes
it's an interesting question for you. You mentioned those two traits. When you're, let's say this is in a contract role or a permanent role, how do you see these traits in people when you're interviewing them?
I don't. I love people I interview with. They're a cracker. No, and I mean the interviewer, right? Sometimes those people absolutely make me laugh my ass off, because they'll turn up with their little bit of paper and their tick and flick questions. Have you configured SAP? And you're like, well, the guy's not really going to turn up here in this interview unless he has, but let's tick it off anyway. That's good. And you just think, holy shit, you're about to spend. Could you imagine dating someone like that? What a cracker. You go to the pub, right? You roll up next to them. They go, hi, love. Right. Do you want kids? Yeah, all right. Yeah, that's great. Got your own home, independently wealthy. Right, that's nice. That's not how you interview a person. Then you're going to spend the rest of your life with the bugger. You find out later on that he's got, bad snoring problem or something. I don't know. Stinky farts. It's like your dog. That's one. You like it in the shop, come home, then you learn all the bad habits. You might as well have a conversation with them. You sit down and get to know them. Can you actually, your sixth sense will tell, can you trust this person? Can you, and you've always got some techie questions you throw in, just so, yes, tick the HR box, thanks, there you are. But get to know the person. I've always said, can you make me laugh? If you can, if you get in there and you've got a right royal giggle on, we're gonna last a long time together. And admittedly, anyone who's on any other programs I'm on generally sees the same faces turn up a lot of times. Because the minute you've got, guys, getting the band back together. Come on. We know we work together.
You're definitely a good example I'll use with clients about your tick box. I like that.
It's just ridiculous. I've been in interviews where you're there with someone else and that's their style and that's how it is. the interviewer I co-interview with is generally not on the program implementation. Well, like if they do that, I'm not coming along this journey with you.
Brilliant. Amanda, I'd love to ask you, like, you're such an interesting person. You've made me laugh today, which is brilliant.
Job done, tick. I can leave now.
There we go. Yeah, you got the job, hired. What's your biggest failure?
Oh, everything. Oh, I'm shit. Most things. Oh, you should have seen how bad of a parent I was. Oh my God. Yeah. Reason I'm here is because I love failing. Because I give it a go, right? And we work it out on the fly. My son, bless him, he's 18 now, just finished high school, about to go into uni. This is a couple of years ago, and he came out and he had drawn some artwork. Now, I hadn't seen him draw artwork. He must have been about 16, maybe 17, so not long back. And now I'd never seen him actually present artwork in years. You know, when they're about 2, 3, 4, everything comes home from kinder. It's like, I mean, I've still got a blasted, look at this. This is, every parent has them. It's got his photo on it, came out from kinder. God, that must have been 2004, 5. Yeah, I used to bring home all this stuff. So anyway, I sit down and I brace, because this hasn't happened in decades. And I look, and he goes, you know, check out my artwork. I've done it for school. And out of my mouth came, you sure, mate? You shitting me? That's yours? Actually, out the window, when every possibility of like backing your son, you know, that parental, oh, good job. No, that did not hit. It was like, hey, did you copy it? He says, no, I did it myself. I said, you sure? Now I'm questioning, is he lying to me? Then I'm questioning his actual capability and competency. It was just so good, it shocked the shit out of me. And I was like, holy Christ, how did I happen to have a child that is that goddamn talented and I've never noticed? So it was more my own grief at myself, which came out. So yeah, I fail absolutely on a daily basis. And that was a right royally spectacular way. And could you imagine me doing that to a consultant I work with or a client? It's like, you shit me, you did that configuration like that well. You know, did you copy it off someone? If you could, I'm breaking every possible, you know, what does that give that person? So I really had to like give myself an uppercut and say, you know what, sometimes people are just exceptional and that's okay. And they shock you, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. What a fabulous way to be shocked, but I really didn't respond in the best moment. I didn't have the best version of me on that day.
So talking about different people, Amanda, like you're a character, like you're cool. I'd love to work. Yeah, brilliant, absolute character. But you're in consulting.
Yeah.
And I can see if people get along with you, they go to new levels because you've got so much knowledge. They can extract that knowledge from you. You make them a better person through laughing. And what happens? And I suppose it's a dilemma because you're consulting, and then you've got yourself and your personality. What happens if you've got the end customer?
Yeah.
And they're just completely different person, very, very difficult stakeholder to manage. And you know that potentially, you know, you can win some business from them or not. Like, how do you manage that situation there when you've got that kind of bureaucracy and red tape in front of you because you're consulting and yeah, how do you do that?
It's, you know what, it's weird. That's what I'm good at. And I say that because when I left the military, I went into, everyone will know, SMS consulting. I'd never done consulting before, and I literally walked smack bang in this to old friend. He goes, "Oh, you'd be great. Come into consulting is the best thing you've ever done." And he went off for about, I was like, shit, you're going to, whoa, hey, can't do you think I've got personality. Went into consulting, and it became apparent I was really good with what they call tough clients. And I think it's because I inherited from my dad and probably the New Zealand culture a zero judgment. Like I really don't have much in the way of a judgmental sort of trait. So that helps. and I also don't get offended at all easily. So we did the first client they actually put me into, and you think I can drop a few swear words along the way, like salt and pepper. But this guy, man, he would turn up and call us. There's two girls in the PMO at the time who were leading his delivery, and he walked past us every morning. And he called us the FNCs. Won't fill it in. You can do it. Old enough. And we'd turn around and look at each other and coffee. So our revenge was actually to go out on his bill and go and get coffee, which happened to be a local cafe, Nescafe Blend 43 with frothy milk. And I paid a good $5 for that, but hey. So that ability, so no judgment, high tolerance for... I'm like, oh, well, you can't offend me. I've been in the Navy. Nothing can offend me anymore. Means that I actually work quite well with their tough clients. And all it is getting to know the person. No one wakes up in the morning, client, consultant, contract, whoever you are. And, well, some people, I just thought of what I'm about to say. One or two. You don't wake up in the morning and go, I'm out to ruin this company. The shittest job I've ever done. And I'm going to love it. I mean, no one does that. Everyone gets out of bed in the morning and goes, oh, I want to feel fulfilled. I want to come home and know I've done a great job. I want to... Imagine the measly bastard who rolls out of bed and goes, yeah, this is it. We're going to completely make sure the place goes down. No one does that. So as long as you associate with the human being that just wants to be, feel that they've achieved, they've done, they've lived, they've enjoyed themselves, they've had a great group of people around them, and we've done this magnificent thing. Once you've got that connection, you can understand what makes them tick. Easy. Walk and park. We're all human, right?
Love it. Man, I could talk to you all day. This is brilliant. So good. I'd love to know who's your biggest influence on your career. Obviously, you've been in the Navy before. You've worked on multiple programs. Who would you say has been the biggest influence? And then go into a bit about the why as well.
Guy called Graham Sloper, who saw... God, I joined the Navy. I was 21 years old. And if you want to talk about working from the ground up, my first job with him, I was his driver. And my girlfriend was a steward. And he saw in this little 21-year-old, because he was I should put it into context. I say Graham Sloper, he was a Commodore. He was the Commodore of the air base down in Nowra at the time. Well regarded, well credentialed, got more medals on him than you could poke a stick out. Captain, massive ships. This guy had done it all. And what he saw was a little kindling light that he supported in me. So told me to go out and get my extra courses. He and another guy called Yava Khan, who ended up working, I think Yava went to the UN and led the procurement there, but strong leaders. And Yava, God bless him, put me up to do my bachelor's, like equivalent, and got the Defence Force to pay for it. Amazing. So they just saw in this human being whatever it was that needed that little, fanning that little flame to let me be who I ultimately became. And for that, it's fantastic and phenomenal leadership to see that. I mean, one thing, and everyone knows this, so I can say it. I mean, Graham Sloper, Commodore Sloper, amazing man. We had this thing called kangaroo court in the Navy, and you'd got in trouble and you'd have to front up, and they had a court session, and everyone, it was very serious. But if you could tell him, if you admitted up to what you did, and you could tell him a really good story about why you did it, you kind of get a lesser sentence. And I learned a lot from that. I'm like, yeah. So everybody knew to front up, we put a table in the middle of the parade ground once, which you're not allowed to walk on the parade ground, right? I better put some context about this. And then it was the middle of the night, and we put all the knives and forks out, made it look like everyone had a huge party there, just to piss off the warrant officer disciplinary, because you weren't allowed to walk on parade ground. It's like sacred ground. And all we got in the morning was, "You have 15 minutes to remove that crap from my parade ground." So everyone got in trouble. But as long as you had a good reason and about the story about why you did it, it was entertaining, it was lighthearted, we were bringing a team of people together, it was camaraderie, it was, Graham Sloper let you go with a slap on the wrist. And you could see what in reflection, you can see what he was actually doing. He was building that teamwork, he was building that, we had each other's back. We were a little bit naughty, as long as it was within bounds, didn't hurt anyone, we cleaned up after ourselves. It's strong, and I mean, you don't see much of it in corporate Australia as much anymore, but it's that strong leadership. And when you find those people, I hang on to them with both hands.
I love that. And I like what you said there about strong leadership. And one point I'm learning from that is you front up, and then as long as you can tell a story to back it up. What else? How else would you define a strong leader? Like what are the traits you would look for?
It's their integrity and their values, that they live by them no matter what, even when times are tough. You never see them, take away from their team that hard work. They give that work, that effort back to that person. It's everything: loyalty, trust, honesty, but they live it. And usually they're flawed like everybody else is, but they like put it out there and go, "Oh yeah, completely fucked up last week. This is learning. This is what I did about it. I probably won't do it again." They're flawed individuals. Don't no one should put them on a pedestal, but they are values. They're values-driven, ethical people who will live their values and those ethics to the core generally, and not compromise their people because of it.
Amazing to hear. Going back to your project management style, obviously hearing about your leadership style, do you have a philosophy that you follow when you're, let's say you're picking up a new project? Is there a philosophy you follow?
I'm a consultant in generally large for. I generally get told what I have to go on. I wish I had the privilege. I did for a while have a privilege. I went out contracting on my own, and I had the privilege to turn work down. And I tend not to do that now. So I don't have a philosophy so far as what I can go on. I guess I have you can tell I just think we should have fun doing it.
Yeah.
If we're in there, there's no need. You can work hard, play hard. That'd be my philosophy. Work hard, play hard, be good at it.
Is there a methodology you follow when you're on these projects?
What, for the delivery or for?
Yeah, on your delivery, your style, I guess. From
the style. I went to Prince 2, and what does SAP use? They've got their methods. I'll chuck that out the window. No, nothing in particular. I like it. Well, actually, I should not. I'll put that in context. I actually like SAP's method of delivery, to be honest. But in the context of this conversation, putting them aside would be a better way to say it. No real method. Look, very artisan. I think we look at things these days where we think process will fix people. Process won't fix people. If we were that easy, we'd just be a pack of robots and you wouldn't need people. Sometimes I think that would be lovely. But no, we're in a world, we do need people, and we do need that free thought, and we need rebels, and we need people who want to take initiative, and we need that whole mixed bag of lollies that makes the delivery absolutely fucking awesome. And not everyone gets along for that. And oh gosh, I've had some right royal of pearl arguments, and they're the best things that ever happen, because out of that comes clearer understanding. I don't know why people shy away from arguments, by the way. we're humans, right? You're there because you've drawn yourselves too far away from the line of communication, and a right roll blow up. It generally gets you back together. Yeah, no method. Art is in the whole way.
I love that. Process doesn't fix people. I like it. I'm learning a lot from today as well, because I'm a very kind of process orientated person, and I've made loads of mistakes before where, well, this has worked for me in the past, it should work for another 10.
Yeah.
So I've fell flat on my face with that approach before. So, but yeah, that's a good way to put it. Process doesn't fit people. I've really enjoyed today, Amanda. I'd like to finish on and have a think about why I asked you the second to last question, but have a think about who you'd like to hear on the podcast. But before we go into that,
Dolly Parton.
Dolly Parton.
I just want one more rendition of Working 9 to 5 from that lady. She just nailed it.
What a cracking tune that is. But no, if you could cast back to that young girl in the Navy, what advice would you give that young 21-year-old self?
Don't doubt yourself. You were goddamn right, lovely. Like, way too many times in the beginning, shut up to toe the company line. I don't shut up to toe the company line anymore, because if something's wrong, it's wrong, and you're calling it out as a risk or a concern. No need to shut up just because everybody else is, or you're going to look a little bit out of place, we want the voices. We want to know. Like, you got to have people who are prepared to put your hand up and say, something's actually wrong here, or I think something's going to be wrong, and let's work together and fix it. Like, so early on, I was when I joined, and just to let you in a little secret, I was in the Air Force first, 18 months, and then I joined the Navy. And my recruitment corporal at the time turned around and said, you don't fit here. You're going to hate it. But we can't get rid of you. You're too goddamn clever. You're going to pass all the tests. And I'm like, yeah. And he's spot on. I spent years and God damn it, when I went into consulting, I joined EY. Oh my God, isn't that a box that you got to shove your little self into? Like, I was like, you should see me. I had my hair cut certain ways. I had to look. I had suits on. Oh my God, I don't wear suits anymore. I tried to jam myself into this corporate box and this Navy box, and realistically I should have run screaming going, y'all. Be the eclectic you are, be the human you are. Like, don't try and squeeze it, because you're more honest, you're more open, you're more, the person we want is the authentic person, because the authentic person's going to be free to speak and pull out all these bloody risks we don't want to go ramming into. You're going to bring a collective and a kaleidoscope of a view. Who wants to have a boring implementation, whether it's SAP? Who wants to have a boring life when you've just got this monotone of people that are like robots? You want a kaleidoscope of life, and I want every single kaleidoscope of human in there, because we all see it differently. So if I'd gone back to little old me back in the day, don't fit in that goddamn box, sunshine. No, be you.
Brilliant advice. And then, other than Dolly Parton, obviously you work with a lot of people in your career, some fantastic people, I guess. Who would you like to see on this podcast?
Oh gosh, put me on the spot.
I didn't think we're heavy loss for words today.
Yeah, that one's a tough one. You're gonna have to think of some awesome. I'm trying to think of some of the best. Oh gosh, there's okay, I've got a list. Can I get a list here?
This would be good.
We've got some fantastic, and I'd have to ask him, but there's a gorgeous lead architect who would just give some phenomenal insights into transitioning. Even when you transition career-wise, he came from South Africa, and he and I had a long talk about the difficulties we have when you're moving countries inside implementations. I won't tell you his name right now, but I'll have to tell you later because I want to ask him first.
Yeah, sure. That's fair. That's very fair. But Amanda, that was absolutely sensational. Thank you very much.